What's going on, guys? Sean Nalawani, SeanNal.com. And in this video today, I'm going to be going over 12 common bench press mistakes that people make in the gym and how to correct them. The barbell bench press might look like a pretty simple lift on the surface. All you have to do is unrack the bar, lower it to your chest, and press it back up. But the reality is that there are actually a ton of key mistakes that lifters make on this exercise that not only reduces the amount of total stimulation they can put on their chest, but also increases the stress on their shoulder joints, their wrists, and their elbows, as well as increasing the chance for sudden accidents like dropping the bar on themselves or getting stuck underneath it. When you break it all down piece by piece, there are actually a lot of different subtleties involved with performing an optimal set of bench presses. So these are 12 things for you to keep in mind. And also remember that most of these tips apply to dumbbell presses as well. Now, I know this is a lot of info to take in at once for a single exercise. So rather than trying to apply every single tip all at once, instead just try focusing on maybe one or two things at a time, practice them until they become automatic, and then move on to one or two more things, and so on until your bench press is being properly executed from top to bottom. Before I get into the specific tips, if you do enjoy this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button below to stay in the loop on all of my future content, and also click the little bell symbol as well, and that way you'll be notified whenever a new video is available so that you don't miss out on anything. So here we go, bench press mistake number one. The most basic one on the list, but it does have to be mentioned, and that's just going too heavy, period. Pretty much anytime I go into the gym, I can be almost guaranteed to see at least one guy loading up way too much weight on the bench press and then pumping out half or quarter reps with it, or doing almost every rep with the help of a spotter. The bottom line here is that if you can't lift the weight in proper form with a full range of motion on your own without a spotter, then the weight is just too heavy for you, plain and simple. Okay, going excessively heavy isn't going to build your chest any more effectively if you aren't using the proper form to begin with. And all you're going to be doing in that case is increasing your chance for injury and reinforcing bad lifting technique. Okay, nobody in the gym cares how much you can bench press. When you go too heavy with bad form, you just look silly. So lighten up the weight, get your technique down, and only increase the weight if you can do so using proper form. Bench press mistake number two is flaring your elbows out at 90-degree angles. Now, theoretically, keeping your elbows flared out like this actually does increase the tension on your pecs, because the main function of the pecs is to bring your upper arm across the front of your body. And so when you do it that way, you do end up getting a larger range of motion. But unfortunately, that also puts a lot more stress on your shoulder joints as well. So the goal with a proper bench press is to find the right balance between maximizing chest stimulation, but while also doing it safely at the same time. Now, you might be totally fine right now benching with flared elbows, but as you go heavier and heavier over consistent weeks and months and years of training, it's going to catch up to you eventually. So you're better off to just correct it right now from the get-go. And the solution here is to tuck your elbows in slightly throughout the exercise. You don't have to overly exaggerate this, but a good balance is to have your upper arms at roughly about a 75-degree angle. That's still going to hit your chest really hard for muscle growth, but it's going to protect your shoulder joints as well. Bench press mistake number three is allowing your wrists to bend. Now, I've talked about this in a couple videos, but if you allow your wrists to bend backward during the bench press like a lot of people do, not only do you lose strength on the lift, but it also puts a lot of stress on your wrist joints as well. So instead, what you want to do is consciously focus on keeping your wrists in a neutral position. And one thing that really helps with this is to position the bar across the lower, meatier portion of your palm rather than higher up toward your fingers. Bench press mistake number four is improper grip width. So if you grip the bar too wide or too narrow, just like with the previous point, you end up losing strength on the lift, but you also put stress on your wrists as well as your elbows and your shoulders. Now, there's no single grip width that's going to apply to every single lifter across the board because it does depend on your body structure and your limb length. But the basic goal is to find the grip width that causes your forearms to be vertical at the very bottom of the rep with your wrists and your elbows directly stacked on top of each other. And if you're having issues with this, then it would probably be useful to actually film yourself by putting a camera behind the bench and then tweaking your form until you find the proper grip width for yourself. Bench press mistake number 5 is lowering the bar too high up on your chest. Now, if you have your elbows tucked in, like I just mentioned, and you're using a proper grip width, then those things will mostly take care of this on their own, but this still has to be mentioned because it's pretty important. And it's something I see all the time in the gym as well, where somebody's basically benching with their elbows flared way out and then lowering the bar down to their neck area, almost like with a guillotine press. Again, this technically does hit your chest a bit harder in terms of raw muscle stimulation, but it's basically going to be suicide for your shoulders over the long term as you start progressing to really heavy weights. So keep those elbows tucked in and lower the bar down to your mid to lower chest area, roughly around your sternum or slightly higher. It's going to be a bit different for everyone depending on their individual body structure, but around the sternum area will be about right for most people. Bench press mistake number 6 is benching with a flat upper back. So instead, what you want to do here is retract your scapula by pinching your shoulder blades back slightly and then driving them back into the bench. When you perform your bench press with your shoulder blades completely flat against the bench, it actually increases the stress on your shoulder joints because they lose their solid contact with the bench and they don't have anything to properly drive back against. So a good form cue for this is to think about squeezing your shoulder blades together and putting them down into your back pocket. And also keeping a small arc in your lower back throughout the bench press. That's also going to help out with this as well. Bench press mistake number 7 is letting your butt raise up off the bench. Now, this is a really common thing you'll see where someone will have their glutes flat against the bench, but then as soon as they press the bar up, their butt raises up into the air as a way of trying to basically cheat the weight up. Having your lower back arced and not in contact with the bench, that's fine because it helps to keep your chest up. But your glutes, on the other hand, should be tight and pinned against the bench throughout the entire set. Bench press mistake number 8 is not keeping a solid base with your feet, or even worse, benching with your legs up in the air like you'll see a lot of guys doing. Having your legs and your feet just kind of floating around during the lift, that puts you in an unstable position, and it also decreases your strength since you can't get that additional force from driving your feet into the ground. So what you want to do is position your feet right below your knees and drive them into the ground as you're performing each rep. You can put your feet further back if you prefer, if that feels more comfortable, but just make sure that your heels don't come off the ground. Bench press mistake number 9 is bench pressing with a thumbless grip. Okay, this is going to make it a lot harder to maintain that neutral wrist position that we talked about earlier. But more importantly, it's also going to increase the chances of losing your grip altogether during the set and dropping the bar on yourself. Okay, people literally die in gyms every single year as a result of bench pressing accidents. And I have no doubt that a thumbless grip is probably to blame in some of those cases. So to be fully safe, wrap your entire thumb around the bar. It could save you from a sudden freak accident, and at the very least, it's going to help to keep your wrists aligned in a better position anyway. Bench press mistake number 10 is bouncing the bar off your chest. So if you need to use momentum to bounce the bar off your chest on each rep, then you're just going way too heavy and you need to lighten the weight up. From a pure strength perspective, bouncing the bar off your chest doesn't count as a legal lift in the first place. From a muscle building perspective, it's going to reduce the tension that you can produce on your chest in comparison to lifting under more control. And from an injury prevention perspective, bouncing the bar is also going to be a lot more likely to hurt your shoulders or even your rib cage if you end up dropping the bar too hard. So lower the bar under control, touch your chest without bouncing, and then press the bar back up without using unnecessary outside momentum. Bench press mistake number 11 is benching heavy without a spotter. Now this should pretty much go without saying. If you're a more experienced lifter and you aren't maxing out, then that's probably fine. But if you're still a beginner or if you're challenging yourself by lifting heavier loads, especially if you're going with lower reps closer to failure, always have a spotter there just in case. And this is particularly important if you're training from home and there's nobody around to rescue you in the case that you accidentally get stuck under the bar. And finally, bench press mistake number 12 is moving your head and neck around during the exercise. So don't raise your head way off the bench as a way of watching the bar come down and touch your chest. Don't press your head backward into the bench, and don't turn it from side to side either. All of these things are going to increase the strain on your neck, or they could also throw you off balance during the set. So make sure to keep your neck nice and tight, but keep it in a neutral position. So there you go, guys, 12 bench press mistakes and how to fix them. Applying all of these tips is going to help you build a bigger bench press and a bigger chest while staying injury-free at the same time. So I hope you found this advice helpful. If you did and you want to get all the tools you need to gain muscle and lose fat as effectively and efficiently as possible, the workouts, the meal plans, supplement guides, along with one-on-one coaching, then you can check out my complete body transformation blueprint by clicking the icon at the top of the screen here, or by heading over to btblueprint.com. The link for that is in the description box. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on future videos. The official website is over at seannall.com, and you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram as well if you aren't already. The links for that are also in the description box below. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.